Kemi was the kind of woman who loved with her whole heart. The kind of love that didn't calculate or wait to receive. It just gave her time. She gave her energy, gave her trust. When she met Shalabi, she thought she had found her person. He wasn't rich. In fact, he was struggling. But she didn't mind. She had hope. Hope that with time and support he would grow. And together they would build something lasting. Her parents were very happy about the relationship, but Kemi stood her ground. At first, it was just simple things. Money her parents gave her to use for herself, she would divert to help him. Clothes, food, small things here and there. He never really asked, but he also never refused. And soon he came to expect it. Kemi didn't see anything wrong in it. She was in love and she believed she was helping him become the man she saw in her dreams. Then she got pregnant. That was when her world began to shift. Her parents were angry, very angry. They felt disrespected, betrayed. All they had warned her about had come true, and they were too disappointed to hold her hand through the mess. They told her to leave their house, and so she did. Kemi packed her few things and went to live with Shalabi. He didn't seem excited about the news. There was no proposal, no promise of a future, just silence and occasional anger. Still, Kemi stayed. She convinced herself that love would be enough, that once the baby came, things would change. But the baby came and nothing changed. Shalabi was distant. He always had excuses. This isn't the right time. I don't have enough money. Let me just settle small. He never mentioned marriage, never called her his wife, just Kemi. But even with the pains, Kemi put her head high. She focused on her son, Wole. He became her reason, the one person she couldn't afford to fail. The final blow came when one of Shalabi's friends connected him to a business deal. It was like overnight, money had started flowing. He moved out of their small apartment to a bigger space alone. He stopped picking her calls, blocked her on almost every platform. No more money, no visits, no father figure for Wole. He vanished just like that. Kemi was left alone with a child. Rent, feeding, school bills, and the echoes of a love story that had become a nightmare. But she didn't cry for too long. She looked at her son one morning and made a decision. You will not suffer for my mistakes. After everything fell apart, Kemi had every reason to give up. But she didn't. Giving up wouldn't feed her son. Giving up wouldn't pay the rent. Giving up wasn't an option. She began with small jobs, cleaning people's homes, selling little things, anything that brought in honest money. She didn't care about pride anymore. The same hands that once pampered Shalabi were now scrubbing floors, washing clothes, carrying her child on her back while moving from one place to another. Then came a new opportunity, one that would change her life. She met Madam Titi. Madam Titi was a well-known makeup artist in the area. She had a studio and clients who trusted her. Kemi started off cleaning the studio for small pay, but she was always watching, always learning. The way Madam Titi held her brushes, how she blended foundation, the calm way she talked to her clients. Kemi soaked it all in like a sponge. One day Mama Titi noticed. Kemi, she said, you have sharp eyes. You dey watch me well. Kemi smiled shyly. Auntie, I like this work. Then come closer, let me teach you. From that moment, something shifted. Kemi wasn't just hustling anymore. She had found something she genuinely loved. Makeup became her escape, her therapy, and the more she learned, the more she grew. She started assisting Madam Titi. When Madam Titi wasn't around, clients began asking for Kemi. Let that slim girl do my face, they would say. She had a gentle hand and a good eye for detail. Her work was neat, and she listened. She made every woman feel beautiful, and that was her secret. As her skills improved, so did her income. She began saving little by little. Feeding Wole became easier. School fees didn't feel like a mountain anymore. Her confidence returned slowly. She never forgot the pain. But now, it wasn't the pain driving her. It was purpose. Then one day, a woman walked into the studio, well-dressed, soft-spoken. Kemi did her makeup, and as usual, she was impressed. Before leaving, the woman asked, "Why don't you have your own studio?" Kemi laughed. "Ah, auntie, that kind of money no be here oh. I just dey manage." The woman paused, looked at her closely. "I'm opening a mall. There are small shop spaces inside. I want to give you one. 2 years, no rent." Kemi thought she didn't hear well. "Auntie, you say waiting." 2 years, the woman repeated, smiling. "You are talented. It's time people know your name." Kemi couldn't believe it. It was as if God had remembered her name. That night, she knelt beside Wally's bed and cried. Not tears of sorrow, but of gratitude. She had been through the fire, but maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something new. The day Kemi got the keys to her new space inside the mall, she held them like they were made of gold. To her, they were more than keys. They were proof. Proof that hard work, patience and grace still paid off. She stood in the small shop, looked around the plain white walls and whispered, "We are not where we used to be." The first thing she did was give the space a good cleaning. She brought in a few things she had managed to save over time. Her makeup box, a small mirror, and the portable chair she had used back in Madame Titi's studio. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Bit by bit, she bought more brushes, foundation sets, and lip kits. She saved, reinvested, and continued to upgrade. Every day, Kemi opened her shop early. Sometimes clients didn't come. Sometimes only one would show up. But she stayed. She used the quiet days to learn, watching online tutorials, practicing on herself, trying out new styles. Soon, the word spread. There was something different about her. She didn't just paint faces, she transformed them. Her customers would leave her seat smiling. Some even hugged her saying, "Ah, Kemi, you savvy work." In less than 6 months, her name was echoing around town. Brides were booking her for weddings. Influencers and socialists were tagging her online. Even makeup artists started asking her to collaborate. But Kemi didn't let the attention distract her. She had tasted lack, so she handled success with wisdom. She continued saving, refusing to live above her means, and kept investing in her business and her son. Wale, now about 7, was growing fast. He was sharp, like her, and very curious. He sometimes sits with her in the shop after school, watching her walk with wide eyes. "Mommy," he asked one day, "is this what you always wanted to do?" Kemi smiled. "No, baby, but it's what God gave me and now I love it." With business booming, she moved them out from their small apartment to a more comfortable space. It wasn't luxury, but it was peace. She even started the process of buying land. Her dream was clear. Build a house for her and Wale, a home where nobody could chase them out, a place that was truly theirs. She had also reconciled with her parents then. Slowly, quietly, and without bitterness, they had seen her transformation, and they were proud. Her father, once stern and disappointed, now looked at her with quiet admiration. Her mother had even come to the mall to see her shop, hugging her with tears in her eyes. Through it all, Kemi remained grounded. She didn't chase men. Many tried to woo her, some rich, some handsome, but her heart was locked. What she had gone through with Shalabi had taught her that love without peace is a prison. Kemi was healing, not just from what happened, but from what could have happened if she didn't choose herself. She didn't need a man to complete her. She had her son, she had her peace, she had her purpose, and she had just started. Life was going smoothly. Kemi had peace, progress, and a name that spoke for itself. Every week, she had at least one bridal booking, sometimes out of town. She had even started training young girls who wanted to learn makeup, giving them the kind of opportunity she once prayed for. One regular Saturday, her shop was buzzing. 2 bridesmaids were getting their faces done. soft music playing in the background. Wale tucked in one corner reading a comic book. Everything felt normal until she heard a voice. Kemi, she looked up. Her heart skipped. It was Shalabi, standing at the entrance of her shop, dressed well, looking confident, with that same half smile he used to wear when he wanted to get something out of her. Kemi froze for a moment, the makeup brush in her hand, trembling slightly. She tried to stay calm. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice low but firm. I heard about your success. I came to see you, to say I'm proud of you," he replied. "Thank you," she said, keeping it short. "Now, if you don't mind, I have clients." But Shalabi didn't move. He kept standing there watching her. "I've made mistakes," he said. "I was foolish. I hurt you, but I've changed. I'm not the man I used to be." Kemi turned away and focused on her client. "You should leave." She didn't scream. She didn't cause a scene, but her face was stone. After a few more seconds, he quietly walked away. But that wasn't the end. Days passed, then weeks, and Shalabi kept trying. Calls, messages, showing up randomly at the mall, at her street, sometimes even bringing small gifts for Wole, who was now old enough to ask questions. "Mommy, is that my daddy?" Kemi only sighed and nodded. "Yes, but we are just fine, just the way we are." Then came the unexpected blow. Her pastor called her into the office after service. "I've been hearing things," he said, "about a man trying to return to your life." Kemi nodded cautiously. "He came to see me," the pastor continued. "He was broken. He told me everything, and I must say, I have prayed, I have fasted, and I feel led to tell you, God is restoring what the enemy tried to destroy. This man is your husband." Kemi looked at him, her heart beating fast. "Pastor, with all due respect," she said, "we didn't live with him. You don't know what he did to me. I'm not angry anymore, but I don't want him back." The pastor sighed. "I know your heart is hardened, but don't let pride block your blessing. You're a Christian. Forgiveness is part of our walk with God." That night, Kemi couldn't sleep, not because she wanted Shalabi back, but because the pressure was building. She respected her pastor. She respected her church. But she also knew that she had survived. She began to pray again, but this time with a heavy heart. "God, please speak to me directly. If this is your will, show me, but I will not walk into fire again wearing white." Kemi kept her distance. Even after the pastor's word, she stayed focused on her business and her son. She prayed, yes, but her spirit wasn't at peace. Something didn't sit right. Still, she respected her church too much to speak against anyone. She just stayed quiet. But Shalabi wasn't quiet. He became more intentional, joining the church, attending midweek service, lifting his hands high in worship. To the average eye, he looked changed. He was active, polite, even helpful. So women in church began whispering, "He's serious now. Kemi is lucky he came back." The pressure grew. One Sunday, the pastor was preaching a message titled, "The God of Second Chances." Kemi listened with half of her heart. The other half was trying to keep Wole distracted beside her. Then a message reached a climax. The pastor said something that made her stiffen in her seat. "There are some of us here," he said, "who were given love and threw it away. Some of us made mistakes, yes, but redemption is still available. And some women here have hardened their hearts against the very thing God wants to use to bless them." Kemi looked down at her lap, already uncomfortable. Then the pastor did something that made her stomach turn. He invited Shalabi to the altar. The church clapped as Shalabi walked up, acting humble, almost tearful. Kemi wanted to leave. She whispered to Wole, "Let's go." She stood up, clutching her son's hands, but then she heard it. "Kemi, please come forward." The whole church turned to look at her. People began whispering. The pastor smiled gently, microphone in his hand. "Please, daughter, just come." Kemi felt like the ground should open up and swallow her, but she didn't want to disgrace the pastor. Slowly, silently, she walked to the front of the altar. Her legs were weak. The pastor continued, "This young man has made terrible mistakes, but God told me clearly that these two are meant to be. Kemi, you have suffered, I know, but God says it's time to heal, to forgive, to start again." The church erupted in cheers. Some women were crying. Someone shouted, "Glory!" Kemi stood frozen, everyone looking, everyone expecting. And before she could gather her thoughts, Sholabi knelt down before her and held her hand. "I'm sorry," he said. "I have changed. I want to make it right." Tears welled up in her eyes, not because she was moved, but because she was overwhelmed. In that moment, she doubted her own judgment. Maybe God really was trying to restore them. Maybe he really had changed. Maybe Wole needed his father. With the church cheering, the pastor nodding, and her own heart confused, Kemi said the words that changed everything. "Okay." The church exploded in celebration, but inside Kemi, a storm had started, one she didn't fully recognize. After the public proposal in church, Kemi tried to convince herself that maybe this was God's plan after all. They went on a few dates, they talked, they prayed together. He seemed sincere. Wole was excited to spend time with his father, and that alone softened Kemi's heart. Months passed, and eventually she agreed to marry him. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Church members helped. The mall owner gifted her a bridal makeup suit for free. Even Madam Titi came and gave her a long, tearful hug. Her parents were reluctant, especially her mother. But in the end, they showed up, holding each other like they were trying to hold back regret. At first, marriage with Sholabi seemed peaceful. He was calm, present, supportive even. Kemi thought maybe this will work after all. And to be fair, she wasn't the same girl who once gave everything without thinking. She had grown, she had built herself, she had learned. She had bought land, a piece of property she had been saving towards for years. Quietly, carefully, she had started building a small 2-bedroom bungalow, brick by brick, foundation to roofing. It was modest, but it was hers. A home she could give her son, a legacy with her name on it. She often visited the site with Wole, who loved to run around the open space, talking about where his room would be. She would smile and say, "You paint it any color you like." She never told many people about the land. Only her parents knew. And now Sholabi too. They had been lying in bed one evening when he casually asked, "Where do you keep the documents for the land you're building?" She paused. "Why?" she asked. "Just asking. In case anything happens. We're married now. No secrets, right?" Reluctantly, she told him where she kept it. Nothing more. That night, she didn't sleep well. As the weeks rolled by, Sholabi started changing again, but softly. First, it was how he spoke to her. Sharp, cold, disrespectful. Then came the controlling behavior. Asking who she was talking to. Questioning every client appointment, insisting she shouldn't travel for jobs outside the city anymore. Kemi tried to brush it off. Maybe he's just trying to protect her. But then he raised his hand. Once, then again, and then it became a pattern. Each time he would cry, beg, blame stress, say it wouldn't happen again. And each time, Kemi forgave, but with less belief than before. The last straw came when she was booked for a major wedding in another state. Her biggest client yet. Everything was arranged, payments made, hotel booked, and the night before she was to leave, Sholabi locked her in the room. "I said you're not going anywhere," he told her. "This is my house, and you're not running around like some celebrity." She begged, she cried. He didn't care. She missed the event. The bride was stranded. The story went viral. People dragged her online. She tried to explain, but no one wanted to hear it. Her reputation cracked. Her bookings dropped. Her name, once shiny, started to fade. And just when she thought it couldn't get worse, the bank came. The day the bank came, Kemi was in the middle of organizing her products at the shop. She thought it was just a routine visit. Maybe another makeup artist wanted to rent space. But when two men in suits handed her a notice and told her she had 7 days to vacate the house she had nearly completed, her body went numb. There must be a mistake, she said, her voice shaking. This house is in my name. The taller man looked at her gently. Your husband used the property as collateral for a loan he hasn't repaid. Kemi staggered. What husband? She asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, Mrs. Shalabi. She dropped the file she was holding. The documents. The night she told him where she kept them. A casual question, the fake warmth. He had used her home, her life's work, to fund whatever nonsense he was into. And now he was gone. No calls, no messages, just silence and debt. Her business was already struggling after the bridal scandal. Her name had lost its shine. People whispered, she's unreliable. She had to refund the client who was stranded on her wedding day, even though it wasn't her fault. No one cared for the full story. The shame was too much. She cried that night, not the kind of quiet tears she used to cry when things were tough. The one that was deep, loud, shaking. Wale sat beside her, holding her hand. It's okay, Mommy, he said softly. We'll be fine. She looked at him, his little eyes full of hope. He didn't even know how broken she was. The next day, she did something she'd never thought she would do. She went live on social media. No makeup, no filters, no script. Just Kemi, raw and real. She started talking about Shalabi, about how he left her, how he came back into her life through the church, how the pastor had insisted it was God's will, how he had abused her all over again, how he locked her up, ruined her biggest job, and stole her property. She showed his photo. She begged the public, help me find him, help me stop him, help me take back my life. At first there was silence, then the internet caught fire. People started sharing her video. Women began flooding her comments with support. Clients who had left her came back apologizing. People who once doubted her were now standing with her. And not long after, someone messaged her, a former client, a lawyer. I want to help you, she wrote. Let's go after him. Within days, they began tracing his movement. With support from the public, tips came in about where he was hiding. And then they found him. He was arrested for fraud, domestic abuse, identity forgery. He had been using her house not just for a loan, but multiple shady deals. And when the case was investigated properly, the truth came out. The documents were never in his name. He had forged her signature. Kemi's property was returned to her. Her name was cleared. His parents, who had long disowned him, came forward not to save him, but to pay back the bank and to let him face the law. And one quiet morning, as the dust began to settle, Kemi walked back into the pastor's office, not to scream, not to curse, just to speak. He told me, God said, she began. You said I was too hard-hearted to see his will, but God didn't speak to me, and he would never ask me to return to change in his name. The pastor sat silently. You would never do this to your daughter, she said, rising to leave. So why did you do it to me? She walked away. No drama, no final words, just silence and freedom. Months passed. Kemi didn't rush back into the spotlight. She didn't seek attention or revenge. She simply did what she had always done. She rebuilt. But this time, she did it with more wisdom, more calm, and more clarity. Her live video had not only gone viral, it had opened doors she never imagined. Clients returned. People who had never even heard of her now wanted her. Makeup school invited her for guest session. Beauty brand reached out, but she had something bigger in mind. Kemi line. That was the name she chose. A makeup line with her signature on every product. Foundation, lip gloss, brushes, powder kits, her own, 100% hers. The logo was simple, elegant and bold, just like her journey. The launch trended across platforms. People who had followed her story were inspired. Women from across the country started reaching out, sharing their own stories. From then, Kemi was no longer just a makeup artist. She was a symbol of hope. And with the money she made, Kemi did something she once only dreamed of. She built a house for her parents. The same parents who once pushed her out now sat proudly on their veranda, watching their daughter come home with dignity, not shame. "I'm sorry for the pain I caused you," her mother told her one evening, holding her tightly. "I forgive you," Kemi said with a soft smile. "We all grow. Life teaches us." Wole was growing too, smart, happy, and curious as ever. He loved math, loved music, and loved sitting beside her during business calls, asking questions she didn't always have answers to. They lived in peace, no tension, no screaming voices, no fear of locked doors. And though men still came, some genuinely good, some pretending to be, Kemi never rushed to open her heart again. Love, she had learned, was not just about feeling. It was about peace, safety, and trust. She had all three within her now. Anything else would have to meet her there. In quiet moments, she would sit with a cup of tea, watching the sun set over her new balcony, and say to herself, "My story did not end here. It broke. It only began." The lessons to be learned from this story: believe people when they show you who they are. Don't expect a demon to turn into an angel just because you're patient. Parents must correct, not condemn. A pregnant daughter is still a daughter. A broken child still deserves love. Pastors are not God. Spiritual authority must never replace personal conviction. Always seek God for yourself. One act of kindness can change a life. Just like the woman who gave Kemi a rent-free space, your help can be someone's new beginning. Never let your situation define your future. You can rise, you can rebuild, you can start again. And above all, you are not your past. You are the strength you found when everything fell apart. The end. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful story. Please do not forget to share this story to someone who you feel this story resonates with. Do not forget to leave a comment if you enjoyed this masterpiece. Tell me what you learned, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye. Mwah.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.